Are you ready?
I was born ready.
What is up, everybody? Welcome on into episode 16 of the Stock Guy and Alex Show, the podcast that covers topics around the entire world. Guys, business, news, markets, money, and sports. That's what we talk about here. People are talking about it, then Stocky and I are talking about it. Stock Guy and Alex Show can be watched, listened, and viewed on YouTube and Spotify. It'll also soon be able to be downloaded everywhere else that podcasts are downloaded. We just need to get to Apple Podcasts. Guys, follow the show on all of the social media. Stocky, what's up? When did you put that hat on?
What's wrong with my hat?
No,
I'm a man of many hats.
You are a man of many hats. You got your tinfoil hat, though, I'm guessing, right next to you.
Speaking of man of many hats, I heard the news. You're going to be a daddy.
We are about 20 weeks pregnant right now. So that's about halfway through, and it's going to be a little boy. We're going to have a little boy in July.
You pumped?
I'm so pumped. We already have his name picked out. He's going to go by Ozzie, O-Z-Z-I-E. That's our little guy, and he's here July 23rd.
All right. Well, congrats, man. Looking forward to it. By the way, your tweet that went out, just so you're aware, at first I was like, wait a second, you and BBXH had a kid? Like, the way you wrote it out, it was like, we're having a baby. Also, so-and-so and I are going to be doing this. Like, wait a second, what? So
No,
just so you're aware.
It was
just the
my
way you
wife
wrote
and
it didn't.
And then
I understood
D and
that,
I
but the way
working
the
on
tweet first came out, I was like, wait a second, that's D, that's not Mel. What the hell am I?
Also,
and then I understood it.
Yeah. Also, the Last Ship Standing project that D and I have been working on. We wrapped up our February showcase, and then also there was a rebrand that I worked on.
Yeah, but when you
Monster
say we're
Lagoon
having a baby, also so and so and I's thing, it just also with after that sentence, and it's like what? Okay, but yeah, congratulations,
Thank
dude.
you.
It is a hell of a thing. It's your first kid, obviously, that you know of, and it is an experience, man. I was out there with my kid today, and she's running around now, so I take her out every day, and she waves to everybody in the neighborhood. They all love her. But today I was having to stop her from going into the road, right? And so I was every time she gets close to the road, I yell at her, say no, bad, whatever like that. And so like I'm the bad guy, but at the same time, I realized something, and that's that every stereotype that you think of as a dad is true. I swear to God. Like, I didn't think it was true, but it is. And you don't feel like a dad, right? Like, you feel like the young buck you've always been. Like, I always thought that there was like this feeling of being a dad, but it doesn't come across. And you think to yourself, I'm not going to do this and I'm not going to do that, whatever like that. It happens, right? For example, my wife is so much more like cautious. Like, if anything happens, she comes running. She's so, mom, right? And me, I'm just like, yeah, you're all right. Like today, she's out there playing. She picks up this big stick, and I'm watching her, and she drops it and hits herself in the face with it. And she starts crying. I pick her up, and I console her, and I realize she's got like this red mark. So I was like, shit. I was like, I gotta hide this from my wife. Matter of fact, she still doesn't know. She'll probably hear about it here. So I'm like, shit, what do I do? So instead of going and telling my wife and sharing as parents, I'm like going and getting ice and putting it on the kid, like, shh, this didn't happen. Don't tell your mom. Like, you can't talk yet, thank God. So there it is. But man, it is a magical experience. It's a pain in the ass. You're gonna lose sleep and even more hair. But man, it is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me.
15 months.
I'm a happy dad.
Your daughter's 15 months, right? Is
14 and a half months.
14 and a half months. Yeah, man. So at some point, I'm assuming the sleep schedule normalizes, but I don't even really care. I'm just excited I'm excited to be able to lose sleep and have a kid. I'm like, it's all I can think about. It's like, I can't focus on anything for more than like 30 minutes or 20 minutes or so without thinking, oh damn, I'm going to be a dad in July. And like,
yeah, I didn't
exciting.
Go through that. I was just kind of like, because I've never had like a really a care about stuff like that. And then when she was born, and then even then I was kind of like, fucking kid, and then as she's gotten older though, I've just like, we've just bonded, and it's just like, we're best friends, and I fucking love it, dude. It's amazing.
I know that I know that she would, that like she specifically, I think went longer than maybe most babies when it comes to sleep regularity. Weren't you dealing with maybe like she wasn't sleeping all the way through the night, for
She's still not, but I mean, you're not going to get the perfect baby, right? Just like you're not going to get a perfect wife. Like mine's a 7 out of 10. It's great, but not the best. So what I look at is that you're never going to get perfect. So I'd rather her not have, I'd rather her keep me up at night, but not like be missing a fucking arm or something. You know what I mean? Like I'll take what I can get in this case, and so it's the least of my worries. And I'm
the perfect baby. You will always get the perfect. I'm going to rephrase that. You'll always get the perfect baby. You're gonna get the perfect baby.
Bro, have you seen people's kids? Some of those kids are busted, dude. I didn't even want to say that my kid was cute because I felt like I was biased, but I started seeing her around other people's babies. I'm like, either my kid's super good looking or those kids are ugly as fuck. And I don't know. Some of them look like fucking potatoes that got left in the goddamn oven too long. It's disgusting.
And I know your wife is a great wife to you and a great mom. So that I'm gonna go ahead and say your daughter and your wife perfect, and especially perfect for your world. So if for them,
and I already got her to marry me and have sex with me and pump out a kid. I don't have to lie anymore. But you are still on that journey, so good luck with it. And I wish you all the best, and can't wait to be there or ghost your baby shower. So
ghost my baby shower.
Speaking of which,
you're not invited to the baby shower.
The one thing about being a parent is we got to think about the future, right? We got to think about what future we're leaving for our kids. And our parents left us a shitty future, and we are leaving an even shittier future for our kids. Not only is the climate getting warmer, not only is everything falling apart, not is everything dying, but war is abound. I don't remember if it was last week or the week before, but I said I didn't think Putin was actually going to do it, and he did it, and here we are. Alex, take it away.
Guys, it's no secret Russia has invaded Ukraine. The last time we spoke, they hadn't. And now we're in this situation where we're like 5 or 6 days, a full week now into this thing. Where I mean, it's hard to sum it all up in one single 5-minute conversation between Stocky and I. So what we have here is simply the updates from the CNN.com website where we are right now, and it's obviously an ever-changing situation. So by the time we post this, things will have changed, probably tenfold. But where we are right now, 41 minutes ago, the U.S. moves to expel a 13th Russian intelligence operative working at the UN. Also, we're dealing with the fact that if you actually look at the headline of CNN, it says explosions heard outside of Kiev. They're starting to basically turn up the heat. If you've been following this, which most of the world has been, you're starting to understand that, Putin's starting to make a lot of mistakes here. He's starting to, he may not see them as mistakes right now, but Putin's starting to do things that are kind of irreversible. He's making a lot of moves here that are pretty intense, stuff that we haven't seen since World War II. You can peel this thing a lot of different ways. Stocky, what are you seeing? What's something that has stood out to you, or any articles that you've read, or what as you've been tracking this?
I think the thing that stuck out to me the most is just how unprepared Russia was for this, right? Like you think Russia has this major military, Putin built it after he took over, and the debacle that happened when they went to war with Georgia, and how they were losing to this small country, and they rebuilt it and stuff like that. And so my thing is that the thing that is boggling my mind is how unprepared, right? Like these guys were sitting for weeks to a month waiting to go in. They go in, and now none of these troops know where they're supposed to be going. They're running out of fuel. They don't have food. Their Ukrainian grandmas are fucking taking their APCs and shit like this. And it makes me think to myself, okay, one of two scenarios. Either A, Putin read the room wrong, right? Like he's like, okay, I'm going to go in. All these other countries, are nailing at the bit to go after the West and grow their power, like China and India and all these other. If I just make the first move, they'll join in with me, right? Either that happened, and he just, because now that he's in there, like nobody's backing him. Like China and India, especially China, has kind of like abstained from voting on resolutions and kind of like staying neutral because they're going to make money on both sides, like the Swiss did in World War II. But like nobody's backing him. Like the only people that are backing him are like Belarus, which he already owns basically, and like a bunch of fucking Muslim Chechenian guys who are going, and the leader's already been killed. Like that's it. Nobody's backing him, and it is just disgusting disgusting and a disaster of this invasion, which is a good thing. And fun fact, as long as the second scenario I'm going to go on to doesn't play out, you know what's funny is a lot of people don't realize this, and I knew this before the war, and that's why I thought it was so funny to watch. Is that Klitschko, the leader, the president of Ukraine, was actually a comedian who was an actor. He played the prime minister, the president of Ukraine, on a TV show, right? That's what he did. Then he ran, and everybody thought it was a joke, and then he actually became the president of the country. And he was kind of like this nice guy, bumbling, whatever like that, but like he's turned into a fucking war hero. Like he's all like gruffled out, he's eating with the troops, he didn't leave Kiev, he's there with them, and he's become like a war hero. So if anything, Putin looks weak and this weak guy looks strong. That's scenario one, right? The thing that scares me about scenario one is, what if Putin is a man with nothing to lose and took this shot and it's not working out, and the world's laughing at him, and he says, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going out with a bang. That's what scares me. Okay?
Yeah. That's the thing here is that, you know, I feel like we've talked about this before with Putin being so irrational, you know, and by irrational, I mean, I don't necessarily mean that he just does things randomly and unpredictably, even in his own mind. I just mean more so he doesn't think the way that, you know, you would assume a world leader in 2022 would think, someone that wants to participate in a global economy, that wants to be part of a global society. He just doesn't. He has his own sort of old world, or his own sort of, you know, egocentric version of, you know, processing thoughts and processing problems. So I think we're in this situation right now where he might do something, you know, I'm not going to say nuclear because, you know, when you go nuclear, you can't go back from that, but he might start doing things, you know, that are just going to be, you know, irreversible for anybody in the world at all to just stand idly by. And I don't know what that means. This is new for, I think, everybody. I don't think none of us have ever really lived in a time where, you know, Europe is going to war like this. So
this is what scares me, though, is that, you know, normally you would say nobody would push the nuclear button because it's self-preservation, right? You don't want to shoot nukes off because the whole world's going to shoot them back. You don't want to destroy yourself. But if you're a man with nothing to lose and you don't care, I mean, did you know that Hitler actually had a plan for, like, they didn't have nukes back then, but like a plan to like kill like a lot of the German population as he took himself out, and it didn't go through because one of his generals didn't. Like, I mean, you never know. I mean, he may not give a shit. His legacy, he doesn't, whatever. He may push that button. And I actually, a lot of people don't know this, but we actually almost had a nuclear the planet destroyed when in 94, 95 when what's his name was president of the USSR, when a rocket was sent from with US students and Norwegian people in Norway. They sent a rocket into space for a satellite, but they sent it over Russian airspace or towards Russian airspace, and they actually armed the nuclear football and gave it to the president. It wasn't Gorbachev, it was the other guy, and they actually armed it and gave it to him, and all he had to do was press the button to launch, and he just kind of like hesitated for a second, and some guy like came running in to like be like, no, it's moved off, it's going somewhere else, and like he could have, and he decided to delay it, but he could have launched right then. Like that's how close we came. So that's one scenario. My other scenario is, what if? Okay, now hear me out. This is a little bit of a tinfoil hat, but not too much. You are familiar with Sun Tzu, right? The Art of War.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Pretend to be strong when you are weak, and pretend to be weak when you are strong. What if, just throwing it out there, he sent a small portion of his military with outdated equipment and green troops, something like that, without anything, into this country to make it seem like they're unprepared and they're untrained and they're weak, right? Get everybody comfortable, everybody let their guard down, and then send in your real force. What if that's the case? Now, we did see a convoy coming in to resupply some of those guys right now. It's 40-kilometer long convoy.
So long, man. Like
40-kilometer long convoy right now heading into Ukraine. So what if that's the second scenario? I don't know. We're going to find out.
The war at this scale, I mean, they're dealing with hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, you can call them whatever you want. You can call them troops. You can call them whatever. I mean, they have hundreds of thousands of human beings that they're sending, you know, to the border, and they're just at Russia's resources. I mean, dwarf Ukrainians, the Ukraine resources available. I mean, I'm not just even talking about from a headcount perspective. All of their equipment, all of their vehicles, and everything. Obviously, Russia dwarfs Ukraine in everything. So, I mean, the higher math it takes to figure all this stuff out, I'm really kind of I'm with you on that idea, because you know how many models you would have to run to sort of get to this idea of, okay, you know, we're dealing with hundreds of thousands of people, and then when you're dealing with that, you're also dealing. You got to think. You got to feed all these people every single day. You got to do it. You know what I mean? You have to make sure that they're getting sleep when they can get sleep. I mean, there's every element of existence that comes along with that. So
I've been to war. I understand. It can be very confusing, and when you're rolling into another country like this, it's not easy.
Which is like what you just said. It can be confusing, which is why the higher math that you need to figure this out. You would only assume that they've run models and understand that, like, you know, they would win, you know, under certain circumstances, you know, as long as, you know, it wasn't the harshest winter, you know, known to man, or anything ridiculous like that.
Listen,
like
Finland beat Russia. Okay. Listen, Ukraine at this point, if this is the best they've got, Ukraine's going to win this, because these sons of bitches, the Russian military guys don't want to be there. Half of them don't know where they're going or why they're there. They're giving up. They're running out of fuel. The APCs. I mean, there's TikTok videos of Ukrainian teenage girls that have gotten an APV and are teaching our APC and teaching people how to start it and drive it. Like the Molotov cocktails. I mean, you know, guerrilla warfare is the thing. I mean, that's why people always say, like, the Russians lost in Afghanistan. We kind of lost in Afghanistan. Guerrilla warfare on someone else's turf is not winnable. They just wait you out until you run out of money, resources, or the people. Plus, not to even get into the fact that, and I broke this down on my stream on a whiteboard, that we've moved from economic sanctions to financial sanctions, and Russia's economy is about to just disappear. I mean, they're locked out of SWIFT. Their banks can't do anything. Their central bank
ruble's nosediving.
The ruble is worth less than Robux right now. There's run on banks, and what you do by doing that is getting the population to fucking like go against you and start a revolution inside and take you down from the inside. So there's a lot of things going on. I think we could spend hours and hours on this, but the TLDR is that shelling is continuing. First peace talks, quote unquote peace talks, which are probably just a delay, didn't work. They're going in for a second one, and it doesn't look like it's ending anytime soon. But it looks like Putin read the room wrong, or he's got something up his sleeve. So either way, that's where we're at with this. And you know, it's wild, and it's so funny too, because 3 months ago all we talked about was COVID, and now nobody's talking about COVID. Like it just disappeared, right? Like nobody's talking about COVID, nobody's talking about vaccines, nobody's talking about masks, nothing. And if anything, everybody's just kind of like, oh, okay, well, it's an election season. Maybe it's time to get rid of these mask mandates.
Guys, according to the articles that we're currently looking at, rollingstone.com, statewide mask mandates are being lifted, but what happens next? I think we're all looking around and we're realizing where we live doesn't really require masks anymore. And like Stocky said, the last year at this time, it was obviously, you know, unheard of to be in a situation like that. So with the Omicron wave finally ebbing, the biggest U.S. states that still had statewide COVID restrictions are beginning to lift many of them. Cali, Connecticut, Delaware, New Jersey, Oregon, Illinois, New York, and Rhode Island, all states with Democratic governors, have ended or eased their mask mandates. The experts Rolling Stone spoke to, including 2 members of President Joe Biden's COVID advisory board, agreed it's time for broad statewide restrictions to end. Local governments should take the lead, instead focusing on vaccine mandates and measures tailored to individual communities. But with the political realities of the U.S., how that plays out is anyone's guess. And, you know, Robert Rodriguez, a professor of emergency medicine at University of California, San Francisco School of Medicine, says we should not have a one-size-fits-all approach to opening up. Yeah, I mean, you know, here in St. Louis, man, it's like masks are just gone. We're gonna drive up to Chicago, which is a 5-hour drive. We're gonna drive up to Chicago in about a week or two and go to a Bulls game while we're there if we can get seats, and we're gonna just go to like restaurants and maybe we'll go for like a day and a half. But that's because Chicago's finally opening up. You know what I mean? Like restaurants, you don't require masks, and a lot of this stuff's being lifted. And, you know, it's like you said, with an election season, that might have something to do with it. I mean, Biden's approval rating obviously has been nosediving as well. That's the only thing that's been nosediving with at the rate that the ruble has been. And now we're in this situation. And now we're in this situation where they're lifting all these mask mandates. Obviously, you know, you don't want it to be so. You don't want to be the cynical guy that says, "Hey, man, this is all political from the get-go." But I can't help but be that cynical guy. I can't help but, you know, look at this and say, "Hey, man, how transparently political is this? When the approval rating is going down, and now we're in a situation where it's an election season. How is this not political?"
Well, not only that, I mean, remember we talked about before with George W. Bush. I mean, what always gets a person with low ratings in their first term reelected? War. I mean, it's just, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's why we're involved here, but it is what it is. Yeah. As far as politics, I mean, it's so funny because it's been political. It's never been about health, or I mean, it has been, but like the news cycle and the politicians have always been playing this close to the chest as a political game. I mean, you had the right saying, you're not going to take my freedom away, and I don't care, it's my choice, right? So you put people in danger, and then you had on the left where it's like, listen, everybody needs to get triple masked and 15 vaccines and all this other stuff, and so it's like, okay, you've got your sides, but now that this is happening, it's like both sides are kind of wonking a little bit, but especially the left of the blue states. It's only natural that you're going to have restrictions start to get lifted and herd immunity happening and stuff like that. But it's just like all of a sudden, hey, listen, now that the media is focused on something else, all of a sudden it's like every state, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, the states are lifting mask mandates, and now it's like the vaccine requirements are gone. They're just gone, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like, okay, I get, we know that there's herd immunity. We know the vaccines work and everything like that. So that's cool. So we're going to let everybody go out without a mask on, but you have to be vaccinated. But then all of a sudden now this week, because the news cycle's changed, well, shit, man, it's election season. People are getting really pissed off. COVID and lockdown fatigue is killing people, or not killing people, like frustrating people, and everybody's just getting tired of it. They're getting angry. You know what? Oh shit, maybe we can do this without anybody noticing. Yeah. Just everybody just do your thing. Whatever, like that. Like it feels very political, and that's not to minimize, that COVID was that killed a lot of people and stuff like that, and it still continues to do so. But I think, like we talked about before, I think it's just going to become like the flu. I think it's just going to be a seasonal thing that we just learn to live with, and that, like, basically, I mean, the flu still kills 60 to 100,000 people a year every year in the United States, and nobody even gives a shit about it, right? And so, if 200,000 people are killed or 100,000 people killed by COVID moving forward, it's on par with the flu, and it's just something we'll get used to.
Yeah, and whatever. I can be the cynical guy. I always like to take a somewhat cynical position, because I don't like just saying, hey, I'm going to read the news and read the headlines and take everything at face value. I've always found it helpful for my brain to ask, why is this story happening versus just what is this story trying to tell me? It's like, why is this story happening? Who's behind the story? Why is it being posted now? So there is the side of my brain that says, hey man, look how political this ended up being or appears to be. But then there is the other side that, wants to use rationale and say, there are probably a lot of people that are just using science and data to back up their reasonings. Like how hospitalizations are down right now, and the incidence rate of cases is down. So that obviously is probably leading to some of that herd immunity. That's the buzzword. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, this was always virus logic, right? I mean, it's just got to work its way, through the system. I mean, you can't avoid it. You cannot.
People are scared, and now everybody's scared of a nuclear war. They're not scared of the virus anymore. Yeah,
I mean, but unless your plan all along was to just go live in the woods and never interact with society again, at some point you had to be exposed to it. And I felt like that moment where everybody got exposed was during the Omicron this past holiday. I mean, literally everybody got COVID. I mean, how many people do you know that, right after Christmas or whatever, they said, oh no, I can't come out. I'm feeling sick. I got a COVID test, at home test, whatever, got a PCR. Be that as it may, guys, we're in the situation where, most likely if you're in the US and you're hearing this podcast, your local, restrictions are being lifted or wherever. We're kind of turning the page on that.
Conspiracy, Alex. All they wanted to do was control the population. Let me tell you something right now. Rahm Emanuel up there in Chicago, he once famously said, don't ever let crisis go to waste. Don't ever let it go. We control people by fear, okay? Get everybody scared. Get them all vaxxed up, okay? And create the problem and then become the solution. It's 101 PsyOps, okay? I'm telling you right now, this was just a conspiracy all along. They came after us, but you know what? I didn't get no vaccines, okay? I didn't get no vaccines because I ain't gonna put no poison in my body, all right? You know what? Listen, I have a McDonald's and I'll have a beer and a cigarette, but I ain't putting no goddamn poison in my body, all right? Just tell you about that. All right, but no. All jokes aside, though, yeah, it is something that we've seen many times.
Where did that come from? The McDonald's?
I don't know.
That was like an impulse. You just had a moment.
I just blacked out.
Yeah,
yeah. I also just saw a headline that came in that breaking news. It says Pornhub remains accessible in Russia following invasion of Ukraine, according to fact checkers. So shout out to those fact checkers in Russia.
Hey, let me hold on. I got
an actual headline that just came in.
You know what that is? That's That's the fact checkers or whatever in their office, and their boss walks in and sees them on Pornhub, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And they go, "Oh, I just wanted to
people were wondering. I'm a fact checker now.
Pornhub was still supporting Russia and making it available.
I'm sorry that I got all accented up, but I was thinking about our next story, and I'm gonna tell you something real quick for all y'all that are not listening, but those of y'all that are watching. It's about to get real warm in here, about real hot in here. Ain't nothing I find sexier than a naked woman in cowgirl boots and a hat riding a oil thing up and down. I'm tell you what, it got me feeling some kind of way. But I just want to let you know if that woman's single, and if I was single, and I ain't vaccinated if you're looking for a real man. But you go ahead and lead us into that next one, Alex, because getting warm in here.
Is that hat tight? Is that got a band on the back of that? Is that too tight on your head?
It ain't tight, but I'll tell you what. No, never mind. Just go ahead.
Okay, guys. According to an article, Daily Mail is what we're gonna read, guys. DailyMail.com. Or if you just saw this ad, a West Texas GOP wannabe railroad commissioner, 37 years old, divides locals after posting TikTok video of herself topless while straddling oil pumping jack. Her name is Sarah Stogner. She's 37. She tweeted a video of herself straddling an oil pumping jack while topless and without pants on February 13th. It was meant as a way to garner attention for her campaign for Texas Railroad Commissioner, which controls the state's oil and gas. She was soon ridiculed online and had an endorsement from one of the state's major newspapers rescinded. Stogner said the video was meant as a joke to bring awareness to her campaign. She also said that the San Antonio News Express editorial felt very much like slut shaming. So yeah, I mean, guys, if this happened to be in your local area or whatever, this is new. This is very, very new. This is a new way of politicking. I mean,
it worked for Trump, and I'm going to tell you this right now.
This didn't work for Trump. This very specifically.
I meant like the doing outrageous things, right?
Yeah.
Having your name on everybody's lips. There's a joke there too. But yeah. So what we're saying is I always tell people, the most important elections nobody pays attention to, right? Who gets elected as president isn't that important. It is on the global scale, but they get cycled out every year, and it's large policy. Your senator, your representative is a little bit more important, but not that important. The most important elections in your day-to-day life are the people you elect in your local government, your school board, your whatever, city council, your judges, your sheriff, all these people. They're the most important people because they make changes for your personal day-to-day life, but nobody knows the names of any of them. You don't know the names of them. You go into the voting booth and you just check down based on the party or whose name sounds different, right? So how do you get elected? You get your name remembered when people go into that booth. So here's the thing. A lot of these people, okay, are outraged by this because this ain't a good Christian woman, or you know what, this is a naked woman riding. This is not who I want, on my railroad thing. Well, then who do you want? Because you don't know who the fuck else is doing it. It could be a goddamn drug smuggler. You have no idea. But the thing is that all the people who didn't know who she was will, and they may forgot why they remember her by the time they go to the voting booth. Yep. And all the people she's going to pick up are going to remember. I'll tell you what, if that was a woman, babe, I know you're listening, but just obviously whatever. But if that woman was running for something in my local office and that was going across my, my feed, I probably would see it once or a couple hundred times. And the thing is I would remember that name. So when I go into the voting booth, I'll be like, I remember that name. I thought about that name a lot, and you're going to get voted in. So if you don't do that, you're going to fall into obscurity, and at worst case scenario, best case scenario, gets you elected. So, shit, that was, it's a hell of a video.
She tweeted, they said I needed money. I have other assets. She tweeted that. Yeah, I mean, whatever, bro. I mean, who cares? Who cares?
Those tapes were fake as shit, though. You saw them?
I mean, they're right here.
For a 37-year-old, no offense, my wife's 37, but for a 37-year-old, those ain't natural. I'm sorry.
I don't know, bro. Maybe. I mean, what do I know?
Really? Really? Where's Mel at? I mean, she'll be honest with you. Say, Mel, do those look real to you for a 37-year-old?
Well, she says, I mean, she said she needed money. Maybe she needed money for the surgery. I don't know. But it says after the video was posted on Twitter, one person commented, "I'm confused. Are you running for political office or auditioning to be a stripper?" And another wrote, "Sad. Some people like to display their qualifications, but if this is all you have," another man then chimed in, "When you have literally nothing to base your candidacy on, go with stripper rides, mechanical bulls," said no one ever. While another said, "If you want to make money on OnlyFans, just do that." Whatever.
But hey, listen, those 4 people had no idea who she was before this. So even if she only gets 1 vote out of it, hey, it's 1 more vote than she would have anyways.
I mean, it says we were disappointed to see a disgraceful TikTok video posted Sunday from Sarah Stogner, whom we recently recommended in the Republican primary for railroad commissioner. The editorial board wrote, "We rescind our recommendation." I mean, come on, a disgraceful video. I mean, what are we talking about here? I
mean, I get why you're a publication that you would distance yourself from that, but if I was the publication, I would run with it because it's going to sell more papers.
I mean, who cares? I mean, it's the human body. I mean, who cares? You know what I mean? It's like,
well, I mean, I watched that video a couple times. I
get where they're coming from. Stocky cares. I mean, I didn't see the video. There's just stills up here, but I mean,
you didn't see the video, my ass. I sent it to you before the stream, and okay, buddy. Well, listen, it worked. It worked for Trump. It worked for this lady. And you know what? If it doesn't work out for her, she doesn't get elected. I'm sure if she's going to open up an OnlyFans, or she could become a celebrity on a different, brand new social media platform that would be perfect for her and this. Which one's that, Alex?
It actually would be perfect. When you go viral for something like that. In Texas, guys, Trump's Truth Social, we talked about this last week. Trump's Truth Social debuts in Apple's App Store, hits #1 in the charts. So there's always conversation. Every time Trump makes the headline for something, there's always conversation about why what he's doing is dumb or bad or doesn't make sense. Trump wins a lot, man. Trump does a lot of things in this world, but one of those things that Trump does a lot is win. And I'm just observing a track record of this guy, and from the person he's been in pop culture in my life, this guy's done a lot of winning. I mean, topping the charts for downloads is obviously a big, huge, massive deal. It says some people who downloaded the social media app received an error message. Obviously, we went through that last week. But it says former U.S. President Donald Trump's social media app Truth Social became available for download on Apple's App Store on Sunday night. But some people, there were some issues, there's some glitches. But then it says people who downloaded the app reported seeing error messages when they tried entering a birth date, email, or phone number to create an account. Something went wrong. Please try again. The message read. So I mean, we're still in this mode where Trump is trying to reemerge on the scene. It's an election year. You could probably expect this time next year for Trump to be a really loud person in the world again. What is it going to be, 2023?
Well, especially with the way that this administration has been going. I mean, it's insane because, not that I'm, pro-Trump, anti-Biden or anything like that. It's just that we've gone from this like crazy ball of energy and insane stuff to just like your grandpa falling asleep in front of the fire. And some people are like, well, it's better than what we had. Other people are like, oh my God, this is the worst time for this, whatever. Trump's going to come out, and based on the polling right now that we're seeing, it looks to me that there's almost nothing outside of war and us surviving, being the heroes, or some kind of crazy economic thing. There's just no way I can see Democrats hanging on to the majority in both the House and the Senate. So I feel like people are going to be like he's going to play that whole "you miss me yet" card and show that, hey, listen, even though part of it could have been his fault, just like we saw Obama get the blame for the recession, even though it was already happening when he came in. Things can happen, but he's going to come in and say, hey, when I left, the market was an all-time high, right? Now it's been down. When I left, the inflation prices were here, and now look at it. You can't afford to drive or eat. You can't do this. When I left, the world was at peace, and now we're at war. When I left, and he's going to be like, you miss me yet? You miss me yet? And whether he runs or again or not, he's going to actually have power here. And some of the problems are problems he created, but that's not what people look at. They don't look at who created a problem. They look for who's going to give them the solution. And that's why our government is oftentimes so good at what they do, because they create a problem and then give you the solution. So that could be that. And also, like I said, the whole sleepiness of what Biden puts off as a leader. He doesn't give off strength. I mean, I don't know if you watched his speech the other day when the day Russia invaded. It was embarrassing. It was fucking embarrassing. And I'm sitting there watching it, and that reporter looks at him directly and says, well, you're talking about all these sanctions that are on the table. He's already invaded. Why don't you do those sanctions now? Why are you saying they're on the table? Why not do those now? And he looked right at her, and then looked around, didn't say anything. She asked it again, and then he asked somebody else a question, just totally ignored her. And I was like, Jesus, dude, you got to say something. You can't, like, why not? And there's a whole bunch that we could get into that. So I wouldn't be surprised that that Trump has a lot of influence in the next election, whether he obviously he can't run for 2 more years, but the midterms coming up, I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of people aligning with him, which I'm going to be honest with you, keeping my personal politics out of this for the most part, but that scares me because, you know, Trump is a wild card, and I'm just leave it at that.
He is a wild card, man. Trump is just a wild card,
and I don't mean that only in, I mean that in a bad way too. So
of course,
that's what, but you know, his app did reach #1 on the chart in App Store, which is huge news. Like we talked about before, I think that app is going to fall apart. But people are getting bored too. They need something to do, especially since you know, the Fall Classic is it looks like it's going to be missing this year.
The Fall Class? You mean the Fall Class? You mean the you talking about spring training?
Sir, if there's no baseball this year, then we're not going to have the playoffs and the World Series.
I think they might just start late. They
probably will, but they just fucking do.
They might just start late.
God damn it, Alex. It was a part. I've literally been nailing the transitions for 2 podcasts in a row, and you have to ruin it.
Stocky means spring training. For those baseball fans out there, we talk a lot of football here. I bring up basketball every now and again. But for the baseball fans out there, guys, you're obviously more than aware. And for those that are not following baseball, MLB players paused CBA negotiations after marathon day of talks. Hope to finalize deal before 5 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday, which this was a story. This is actually a dated link. They have not. They did not finalize the deal because we're past that 5 p.m. Eastern time Tuesday as of this recording. So we're actually in a situation right now, guys, where the start of the season for baseball is going to be delayed. We were in this situation not too long ago. Let me see if I can pull up MLB cancels opening here, right here. This is the one, CNBC. This is more up to date. It says MLB cancels opening day and some regular season games after owners fail to reach deal with players. The bullets here, guys, the key points: Major League Baseball and its players union failed to reach a deal by an MLB imposed Tuesday deadline. As a result, Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred said he would cancel opening day and some regular season games. The Players Association said its members are disgusted but not surprised by the MLB's decision. Guys, no baseball at the beginning here. We've been through this before.
Does anybody even notice? I mean, like, can I be honest with you? And this isn't to be a dick, as I used to watch baseball a lot. 162, 168, whatever the fuck games it is a long season. Like, honestly, if the first 50 games got canceled, nobody would fucking notice because you still got 120 or 110 more games to go and then the playoffs. Like, does anybody really notice? Like, if anything, there's just more productivity in the world. The players notice because they get paid less. Now, a baseball strike does bring a little bit of nostalgia to me, and I'll tell you why. And you're going to laugh because I'm a Jaguars fan in football and I was an Orioles fan in baseball. But the one
in the 90s?
Huh?
Are you talking about the one in the 90s?
Well, no, I was all the way. I mean, I still technically, if I had to pick a team, it'd be the Orioles. But I wasn't really a fan of the Orioles. I was a Cal Ripken Jr. fan. And Cal Ripken Jr., in my opinion, is probably in the top 10 greatest baseball players of all time. And not just because of stats. Like, yes, he revolutionized the position. The only reason that Derek Jeter ever became a shortstop was because, you know, Cal Ripken showed that tall people, you know, tall guys could do it and all this stuff. And he was actually a Hall of Fame stats-wise. But the reason that he is one of the greatest baseball players of all time is not only does he hold the record that's never going to get broken. I know they said that about Lou Gehrig, but it can't get broken now. There's literally collective bargaining agreements that players have to take days off and shit. But he single-handedly saved baseball in '94. So when the baseball strike happened, everybody was like sick of the baseball players. Like, these guys are millionaires asking for more millions and they're refusing to play until they get more millions. Fuck these guys. And everybody stopped watching baseball. But Orioles games were selling out when everybody came back because they knew that there was one guy out there still putting it in, going for that record every single day, not giving up. You know, he had to stop playing because of the strike, but he didn't stop his streak. He just kept going. And Cal Ripken Jr. in a lot of ways saved baseball coming out of '94 because everybody wanted to watch him continue running this record. So I loved that. And every time I think of baseball strikes, I think of Ripken in that record and how amazing that was, especially watching his final game. I cried like a little bitch.
There was also another baseball strike, right? Not too long ago. There was a baseball strike, I think maybe I'm thinking I might
Yeah,
be
but
thinking,
it only affected spring training.
yeah,
Didn't it?
yeah, yeah. Opening day wasn't impacted. Then there was another one about 10 years ago with hockey, and then there was a hockey one 10 years before that.
Well, I mean, they're always going to do that. I mean, they're always going to want, it's not just about more money, it's about more protection and more this and that, but it always comes down to more money. And the question becomes, are they owed more money? If these teams are getting bigger, contracts with television studios and advertising and stuff like that, and they're making more money, they're making money because these players perform, so they get more money. But here's the thing. Here's the kicker. Two things that come out of this. As we start seeing cable network, I mean, this past playoffs was different because it was one of the greatest playoffs of all time, but if the NFL, but as we start seeing more network people or network TVs lose viewership, and we start seeing more streaming and hacking and pirating and stuff like that, these guys are not going to have as much power to negotiate. So they kind of got to do it now, number one. And number two, we talked about this before about who gets paid what, and is it worth it? Like, are these worth it? We're seeing this right now, and I think, and this is going to make me sound like a bad person, but this whole thing, and we're about to get into the story, but the women's, national soccer team finally settled for the equal pay with men's soccer. And a lot of people are going to say, Stocky, you're a sexist because you think that women shouldn't get paid as much as men. Has nothing to do with the sex. It's with the amount of money these individuals bring in, no matter what their sex is. For example, you might say, well, Stocky, that's sexist. How about this? I don't think people in the fucking Canadian Football League should get paid the same as the National Football League. I don't hate Canadians. It's just that nobody watches the CFL compared to the NFL. So it's not about your race, or your gender. It's about how much money you bring in. And all you're going to do is ruin it even more doing this. And you're going to put everybody else who wants to come into the league and give them an opportunity to do well. You're going to end up forcing them not to be able to get in because teams aren't going to be able to pay, or they're just going to shut down because it's not profitable. Sorry, I went on a rant, but go ahead.
No, it is kind of a rant, but I mean, it's real. I like that part. I mean, I always bring that up. Like, you're kind of worth what you're able to derive as far as value. I mean, or for what you're able to create. Like, you should if you're not earning, if you're not creating, if your league is losing revenue, or if you're a player, or you as the players aren't the value piece, then yeah, then you shouldn't. You don't deserve to earn that much. I'm not talking about the women's. I'm not talking about the men's. I'm kind of more specifically talking about the MLB situation. However, what's rough is that people show up to the games and watch the games for the players, and they know they have that leverage. So ultimately, it's really none of I say this obviously, but it's really none of our business. It's really between the owners and the players. And then if you happen to be a fan of baseball, it impacts you because you can't consume the content that you want to consume. So then obviously you're going to have your opinion on what you think is right, but I was
mixing two stories there. I mean, I just, because we had two stories that kind of went together. Both of them had to do with pay. Obviously one is wanting to get paid what they're worth. The other is wanting to get paid what other people get paid. And one wants equality, one wants equity. There's a big different thing there, and I think we muddle that whole thing with the women's soccer team, kind of like we talked about the WNBA before, where these guys want something that they're not worth because they say if you don't do it, you hate our whatever.
Yeah, and so the story that Stocky's talking about, I just pulled it up here, NBCnews.com. U.S. women's soccer team equal pay settlement sets a dangerous precedent. Last week was a great one for U.S. women's soccer. On Wednesday night, the U.S. women's national team won the 2022 She Believes Cup in a 5-0 win over Iceland. Yada, yada, yada. It's going to get over to while other women athletes like tennis players Billie Jean King and where's the part in here that's going to wrap up?
Let me look at it this way. It's not about your gender. Here's the thing. Serena Williams, Venus Williams, Anna Kournikova, these people brought in millions and millions of dollars because people wanted to watch them. There were a lot of men's players who didn't get paid nearly as much as them because they weren't as drawing, right? I mean, Serena Williams has made hundreds of millions of dollars in her career. Nobody, you don't see them going and saying, well, you got to pay me the same as these people who perform, because that's just not how it is. And I know that a lot of people are going to get upset about this, but that's just what it is. And I know that this is a story that really shouldn't matter because it doesn't affect me in any way. But let me be honest with you. I know one women's soccer player in history that I remember, and that's Mia Hamm.
Mia Hamm.
And the only reason I remember Mia Hamm is because in the 90s, she was a superstar. She brought in the big mutton bunny. She was, I remember she was on the cover of the Wheaties. She made a lot of money, right? And I feel like, you know what? She brought in, people wanted to watch her play. People wanted to see the U.S. women's soccer team, and they brought in the big bucks. But it wasn't, I mean, maybe they were underpaid compared to their value because, you know, people paid them less back then, but it's just how it is. And so, you know, controversy aside, you know, with the women's soccer thing, back to what we said before, I think this is bad precedence. I think by giving into this the way you do, you set the precedence that now, you know, you have to do it or you're sexist, right? Like, yes, granted, there has been a history of certain, you know, groups of people, including, you know, women who have been underpaid because, you know, maybe they were underpaid for what they were worth, but now overpaying to kind of correct for that because you don't want to be canceled is only going to ruin the entire sport. I mean, if the WNBA did this, I guarantee you they'd probably shut the league down. They'd just shut the league down because it's not profitable. Why run something that's not profitable?
So some of the facts here, some of what's actually at play here with this story, it says the U.S. women's national team had an even more important win on Tuesday when its settlement with the U.S. Soccer Federation was announced, ending the team's long fight for equal pay. Current and former members of the team who were involved in the class action described the settlement as a huge win and a historical day, and indeed it is historic. While other women athletes like tennis players Billie Jean King and Venus and Serena Williams, players, you know, or players for U.S. women's hockey team also have advocated for equal prize money, comparable salaries to male athletes, and better working conditions. The U.S. women's national team case is believed to be the first time women athletes in the U.S. sued their employer for gender discrimination and succeeded, and it's in relation to a complaint filed with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission in 2016, where the U.S. women's national team alleged that despite the women's team generating $20 million in revenue the year before, the team paid the women players 4 times less than the men. Now, the U.S. Soccer Federation, the sports governing body, has agreed to pay the players $24 million, including back pay, and made a commitment to compensate men and women players equally in competitions, including the World Cup. Yeah, I mean, you know, good for the women. They're getting paid. I mean, good for the women.
Good for them for winning it. But back to the whole thing is that you're gonna end up, you know, by overdoing it, you might end up ruining it for the future. Like, I mean, if they end up cutting a lot of things because they can't afford to keep on more players, or the league's not profitable, or they have to cut games because they can't afford to do it because they're paying so much, and they're not getting the revenue in place, you might ruin future generations' abilities to
then
get in.
Then it's going to have to shut down. Then it's going to have to shut down, and everybody's going to have to be all the smarter and all the wiser of what happened there. Some people got overpaid for their work, and that led to operational costs being too high.
Fucking like the XFL or some shit. They're gonna have to be like, they're gonna have to turn it into the lingerie bowl. And I know that sounds sexist, but that's like that's how they ended up making it fucking profitable, right? And then now it's no longer about the sport. It's about how do you bring in viewers.
Yeah, I mean, it's always about how do you bring in viewers. It's the world of content. I mean, when you're in the content world, you are in the business of attention. You need it, and so even
if you don't want it, you got to, because that's just what it is. And you need to make something advertisable. You need to create demand, and one way of creating demand is to be selling a house in one of the hottest markets in history and saying, you know what, let's see what happens if I drop my house price under 300,000 and list it.
I freaking love this story, man.
I love the video,
guys. Here is a post of what Stocky is talking about, guys. This is on Reddit. So here we are on Reddit. A house is swarmed after being listed in Raleigh for under 300K. This is the video right here. These are all of the people that are here to look at a house. This wasn't
last year. This was like a week ago.
Yeah, this was just like a week ago. The house got listed for under 300K, and everyone lost their minds. And everyone's like, oh, got to go see the house. I mean, if this is not indicative of the housing market right now.
Because rates are about to go up. Everybody knows that. Houses have gone up, and everybody's like, well, shit, now's my last chance, or I need to get in and buy it because it's about to be a renter's market and I can make it as renting. And you put that out there. I mean, fuck, I guarantee you, I have no idea, but I'm just going to throw this out there. That person probably got at least 25 cash offers for as much as 20 to 50,000 over what they were asking that day.
Oh, minimum 20. I mean, I wouldn't even say 20. I would go ahead and say that they probably got 10 to 15 cash offers for at least probably 20% over asking. I mean,
you'd be surprised, maybe 100 because they were lowering it.
Yeah. So I mean, look at this. I mean, the housing market is not cooling off right now. There's a lot of people just come to see one house just because it's listed in the twos. Just because it's listed in the twos. Do you know what it was actually listed at?
No, I think it was in like the 280s, 290s.
I mean, Jesus, man, it's a lot of fanfare for just one house. Oh, it says this is the home, and it's probably one of the cheapest SFH on the market right now. This is the home right here.
If you ever get lonely and you feel like you want to make new friends, I guess you could always just, for shits and giggles, list your house really cheap and get a bunch of people over there. They'll maybe you'll meet somebody and make friends.
I mean, you definitely can make friends. I mean, just have some parties. You'll invite some people. Everyone knows this house now. Here's the listing price. Here's the address in Raleigh. I mean, 260 is what it was listed for.
260. Okay, it was. I thought it was higher than that. I guess.
Time on Zillow, 8 days. Views 208,000. Oh my God, with 1,500 saves. This says this home has a pending offer. Yeah, no shit. I'm sure it does. Imagine
if this was the most five-head thing in the world to do. Rather than put your home out there for what the market price is and get a few people in there, do it kind of like an auction house. Drive the price down so low that enough people show up. They've already made it out there. They want it. They see other people getting it. They drive it up higher. So let's say instead of listing it for $350 and getting 10 offers, you list it for $260 and get enough people to come in, not only to give you offers, but outbid each other with cash offers all the way up until you make even more than if you listed it before.
These people are geniuses. You need these people in the MLB.
You don't have to sell it. It's not like an auction house where you have to give it to the lowest bidder. Let's say the bid only goes up to 295. You say, nah, that's not good enough for me, right? Like, because it's an offer, it's not a guarantee. You could. This is holy shit. They might have just cracked the fucking code.
It says, convenient to the downtown Raleigh, Triangle Town Center Mall, restaurants and shops. These people are geniuses, man. They have a nice little thing written up here. These people are geniuses. You need them. Stocky, you need to introduce these people to the people that are running the MLB. Maybe they can get a deal done. Maybe they can drive
you know
some
what
urgency.
It is? Forget that. We're going to invest in real estate. We're going to start doing this. We're going to buy houses. Then we're going to list them lower, and we're going to drive it up. We just need to get some money first. And I'm going to be honest with you. Streaming and selling coffee is going to take too long. I think I know the perfect way. Do you like vegetables?
I do. I like onions.
Are you a fan of onions?
I like onions. I love fajitas when they make with the peppers and the onions and it's all grilled and everything. So I'm
not a fan of onions, although I did make some ciabatta the other night with I took Granny Smith apples, sliced them up, and I took onions and sliced them up, and I threw them in a pan with some apricot jelly and some butter, salt and pepper, and kind of caramelized them a little bit, and then threw some balsamic vinegar on it and some more apricot jelly on it, mix it up, and then put that on some ciabatta, and then put some provolone and mozzarella cheese, and then melted it in the oven with a little Dijon on the side. It turned out amazing.
Who are you?
I'm not a fan of onions.
Who are you? Was that the Green Chef? Was that Green Chef? Yes, we got a Green Chef ad in this podcast.
No, I didn't. I'm not sponsored by them anymore. Do you know what happened to me on Friday? So or Thursday, my final, deal with them was 2 hours on Thursday or whatever. And it was right in the middle of Russia Ukraine invasion, right? So I contacted them. I said, I can't do it today. I have to do it Friday. So they're like, all right, fine. So I pushed it off to Friday, and we weren't at 10,000. We're still 6,000 viewers. And then all of a sudden at 11 a.m. I have to start it. So I do the transition, and instead of saying this stream is brought to you by Green Chef, I went, this invasion is brought to you by I go, all right, guys, it's that time. I said, this invasion is brought to you by Green, and because I'm reading the headlines of Invasion where my title is Invasion, and I said, this invasion is brought to you by Green Chef, and you need
a little mashup between that. You need a mashup of that. All of the awesome names that come in whenever people are using your code on the Madrina's web store, and you need the stepsister Lidl technology.
But it turned out beautiful because I had that little overlay of the little package with like the groceries and stuff, and I perfectly put it on the podium of the UN. And every time somebody got up to speak, it looked like the world was being. It was beautiful. I am an advertising fucking genius. Thank you.
Did you spoke with them about it, and they were, are they even? Did they even know that happened?
I just all of a sudden everything disappeared, and now I haven't heard back from them. So
that's like that interview, man. That interview was so good. Guys, I'm gonna get us back on track. Stocky was smoothly segueing us into this story on cheddar.com. It says authorities seize nearly $3 million worth of meth inside of an onion shipment. Here's the photo, or here's a photo right here. It says this photo provided by the U.S. Customs and Border Protection shows the Otay Mesa commercial facility where authorities discovered almost 1,200 small packages of methamphetamine hidden within a shipment of onions on Sunday. Authorities seized nearly $3 million worth of meth hidden among a shipment of onions during a tractor trailer's inspection at a federal facility in San Diego. A K-9 unit for the U.S. Customs and Border Protection alerted to the trailer's shipment of onions on Sunday, and officers found nearly 1,200 small packages of meth, the agency said Friday in a news release. The 46-year-old driver, a Mexican national who was not named, was arrested for the alleged narcotics smuggling attempt at the Otay Mesa port of entry commercial vehicle facility, officials said. The packages of meth, more than 1,300 pounds, were shaped into small globes with a white covering, the agency said, and meant to blend into the onions. The drugs are estimated to be worth $2.9 million on the street. This was not only a clever attempt to try and smuggle in narcotics, one I haven't seen before, but also time-consuming to wrap narcotics into these small packages designed to look like onions. Nothing beats the attempt, at least from the show. What was that show about Pablo? No, about Pablo Escobar.
Narcos or something?
Narcos or something like that, where they like took the cocaine and they fused it into the hull of the ship, and they would
see. I'm old school. I just go 2 condoms and put it up my butt. That's I'm old school. Okay, never use 1 condom. Number 1, and number 2. Always get the ribbed ones if you're going to stick it up your butt, not for the feeling, but because they're less likely to tear. That's why you double up and you use ribbed condoms if you're ever going to store something in your butt. I realize that this is very odd that I'm bringing this up, and you're probably wondering how the hell I have this knowledge. That is not what's important. What is important is to know is that if you ever voluntarily or involuntarily have to smuggle something in your ass, double it up with condoms, use ribbed both times, less likely to break, less likely to kill you or have those things in your body.
Okay. What? Okay.
What? I might have just saved someone's life.
It might have. Thank you for the sage wisdom, Stocky. Thank you so much.
This PSA was brought to you by Green Chef.
Dude, I don't think you
partnered
can say,
with Madrinas.
I don't think
this was. If you ever have to stick something in your ass, make sure you double condom it with ribbed for her pleasure.
I don't think
brought
you could find.
I don't 12 beans, Madrinas.
I don't think you would be able to fit 1,300 pounds of small white balls into those 2 condoms, or I'm sorry, small white globes.
You'd be surprised what I can fit into my ass.
All right. Okay. That's the story. We thought that one was super interesting.
And that's
Stocky had that in his back pocket. Guys, thank you all for being here. Thank you so much for...
I call it my back pocket every now and then.
Listen, by our assessment, this is what's going on in the world. By our assessment, this is the stuff that's interesting, and the stuff that piqued our interest. Obviously,
my prison pocket.
Obviously, ranging from the seriousness of this, what's going on over in Europe, all the way to the wisdom of sticking double ribbed condoms up your ass.
Hey, listen, you may not appreciate it, but if I helped one person, if I saved a life today, okay, it was worth it.
Go ahead, guys. This is our end game, our end show here. Stocky's random rant. What on earth is on the docket for that? On the heels of the
I'm gonna get us canceled with this one, but here's my SRR, my Stocky's random rant. I was gonna go on a rant about can we stop fucking hating on Nickelback? They're not that bad. The only reason you have the opinion that Nickelback sucks is because someone else had the opinion that Nickelback sucks and you wanted to be cool, but they got that opinion from someone else. Nickelback had some good ones. They had some bad ones. Can we agree that Creed was way worse? Okay, that's number 1. But here's what I want to go on as far as my rant. Okay, and this is going to be something that's going to piss some people off, but if you get pissed off by this, it's fine. It's fine. I'm going to an unnamed award show in a couple weeks, and I was filling out the registration, and I came across something that I had seen before, but I usually just skip, but I couldn't skip. It made me have to. It was a required field, and it said, "What is your pronouns?" Okay? I always skip that. It was required. I had to require to put my pronouns down. So I put WTF, as in what the fuck, okay? Let me tell you something right here, okay? When you give me options or whatever like that, there are 3 pronouns that I will give people. Him, her, he, she, whatever, and they, them. That's it. If you don't fall into one of those 3 categories, you're seeking attention. I'm sorry. That's what it is. If you don't feel like you want to be identified as male, female, or him, her, she, whatever, then you fall under them. You're a person, right? Them or they, just a person. You don't identify as a female or a male, him, her, she, whatever like that. Then I'll call you they or them. I am all for it. But I am not fucking calling you Zim, Zer, Ji, Ja, Kaku, Kazaa, Kazoo, Kazam, whatever the fuck weird Apache helicopter anteater aardvark bullshit you're fucking coming up with. Stop it, okay? I don't care if there's 62 or 75 or 5,000 pronouns, okay? You fall under one of 3 categories, okay? If you don't like it, go cry to your fucking fake TikTok crew, okay? Because that's not how it works, okay? That's not how it works. You can call yourself whatever you want, but you're not gonna force me to fucking call you some random fucking 3 letters that you pulled out of your ass because they were in 2 fucking ribbed condoms, okay? That's not how that works. I'm sorry. That's the rant I'm going on. Yes, that's a hill worth dying on. Speaking of which, that just leads me to something I remembered, and I talked about on my stream today. Alex, you know I've been battling the HOA for a while, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Still going on. I learned a valuable lesson this past week, and that is when you are writing an email to an HOA that you're already having a tit for tat with and they're older people, never put in your email that this is not a hill worth dying on, because they will contact the authorities and say that you were threatening their life.
That they did that? Oh my God.
They took it as a threat, and I had to explain why, telling somebody that this is not a hill worth dying on, that this is not a hill for you, this is not a hill worth dying on, is a saying. But hey, listen, they're going to do what they want to do.
So they said, oh, this man's now saying
they just knew that they could probably make my life a living hell because
they were just being assholes about it.
They're just like, oh, he said something about me and dying, whatever.
Thank you, by the way, for the Nickelback moment. Nickelback, the Nickelback moment to me is similar to the pineapple pizza conversation. People just do it because it's like it's like a.
I legitimately hate fucking pineapple on pizza. It makes me gag.
Yeah, I know, but you don't stay up at night and think about pineapple on pizza. You have a million problems going on in your life.
No, I stay up at night and watch people running for commissioner fucking cowgirl ride the shit out of a oil thing and realize those titties are fake. But fuck, I mean, I can pretend. I got a good imagination.
Yeah, you got 2 condoms up your ass. What? Talk to us about.
I don't. I've never had 2 condoms. I've never had 2 condoms up my ass ever. So the thing is that's no. It's fine. It's fine. And
You're the king
I'm
of
just
that
trying
shit,
to help
man.
people.
You're the king of that shit. That right there in that moment. I've never had 2. Like look up for a second and like calculate. Like, oh, I haven't had 2.
Well, you never know.
You know what you said. You very specifically said you've never had 2. But you gave off the.
I haven't. Was I wrong?
You're the king of that shit, guys. The last thing that we do here is Stocky's oldest text message. So for those that aren't aware, if this happens to be your first episode that you've ever tuned into or hearing, at the end of the show, we find Stocky's oldest text message that he has not yet opened, answered, replied, whatever, because he's got about 500 missed texts dating back to now 2018. So Stocky, talk to us. What are you reading right now? You got a little smirk on your face.
So this was let's see, I was working, obviously some of these are work because I actually had a real job back then. This was back to 2018 again, and this was from June 16, 2018. And so I was a resort manager for a large resort, and I worked overnight, and there would be oftentimes big weddings and parties that would happen on the weekends, and then we'd cater, they'd pay for all it, and then there would always be all the food left over, right? And we would go up and eat it. I'd get there early and I'd go grab whatever wedding food there was that didn't get eaten. Like not like off of people's plates, but like, in the back that the plates didn't get served or whatever. And so somebody texted me and they said, guy towing and keys, whatever. I said, new phone, who dis? And they said, ha ha ha. What kind of food they got upstairs tonight? I'm really hungry.
And no response. Well, to be fair,
it must have been really good because either I didn't want to share it or I was eating the shit out of it.
No. To be fair, you said new phone, who dis? They didn't give you an answer. They didn't answer who that was. You don't know who that is.
I don't now. Should I text them and write new phone, who dis?
No, new phone, who dis? You should text them and say new phone, who dis?
New phone, who dis?
And then maybe to bring them up to speed, because they might have deleted their text, take a screenshot of that message above and then send them so that way they can see the exchange.
Wait, why was the phone? Why was it green? My bubble green back then, but blue now. What does that mean?
It means that they got an iPhone. which means that they do not have the previous the previous text
So
thread.
3 years later, they're going to get new phone, who this, and they're not going to have any idea who it is.
No.
Oh, well, I mean, well, at least, you know what? I'm not going to answer.
Unless they still have your contact. They might still have your contact information.
Well, I didn't save them. I didn't have a name. I just have a number.
Guys, thank you all for being here. This was episode 16 of the Stock Guy and
Don't
Alex
text
Show.
TSG.
This is episode 16 of the Stock Guy and Alex Show, the podcast that covers topics around the world, business, news, markets, money, sports. If people are talking about it, and so are we. Guys, this show can be watched, listened, and viewed on YouTube and Spotify. Follow the show on all the social media. Guys, we'll be back next week. Let's hope for peace and love across the entire world. And let's hope all these talks that are going to be going on between Zelensky and Putin, or whoever it's going to be between, let's hope they go well. Let's hope they go well. Let's hope we don't see, escalation of any kind. Stocky, what do you think?
And make sure you're safe if you're Putin anything in your butt.
Yeah, we're just going to go to the thanks for watching. We're just going to go to the thank you for watching screen. Oh my God.
See y'all next week.